Apex is a strongly typed object-oriented programming language, okay, that allows developers to execute flow and transaction control statements on force.com platform. Okay, so it's a programming language. It's a strongly typed programming language. Okay, what does that mean? That means that in case you are defining a variable, so any programming language, so you would be defining certain variables. For example, variable x, variable y, and then you will do certain operations using those variables. For example, you have to do a sum. You will say uh, sum equals x plus y. Got that, right? So in a programming language, usually you define variables. Okay. Now, um, in Apex also you need to define variables because Apex is a strongly typed programming language. What does that mean? Strongly typed means every variable needs to have a data type. You cannot simply go and define a variable just as a variable. You cannot just say variable x or x. No, you have to define the data type of the variable, and the variable can contain values of that data type only. So if you say integer x, it can only contain integer. Then you cannot go and put some text value in that variable. That is what it means. Got that? So that's what strongly typed means. Strongly typed means every time you're defining a variable, you also have to mention the data type of the variable. Okay. It's an object-oriented programming language, and we are going to get into a little bit of more of concepts which are related to object-oriented. We are going to come into that part. Let's not get confused with that. Okay, and what is the purpose of this language? It allows developers to execute flow and transaction control statements on force.com platform. So it will basically give you the option to execute your transaction control statements and flows. Okay, that is what Apex is. It enables developers to add business logic to most system events. Okay, so what will it do? It will basically let you put business logics. As I said, now you can write your own program to control the logics. You can write logics to most of the system events, like on click of a button you can execute some logic. Record update or creation of record, you can put some logic. Front end UI components, like Aura component, Lightning Web components. On these things you can put certain business logics and stuff like that. Got it? So that is the thing. All right. In Apex, all variables and expressions have a data type that is one of the following. So, I told you that you have to, whenever you are defining the variables, you'll have to define the data type for the variables. So now all variable expressions will need to have a data type, and these are the ones which are permitted. So primitives. So what are the possible data types? We are looking at that. So one is primitives. What is primitives? Primitives basically refers to the generic data types, which are used in other programming languages also. I'm going to come to these one by one again. S objects. S object basically refers to the Salesforce object data types like account, contact, that sort of thing. Then we have collections. List. List is an ordered collection. Set is an unordered collection. Collection basically refers to multiple values being stored in a variable. So you do have option of defining variables which can contain multiple values. And when you are doing that, you have the option to store the values as a list. List is basically an ordered collection where every value maintains an order. Set is an unordered collection where the values do not maintain the order. And why we have an ordered and unordered, we're going to talk more about it in details in some time. And then map. Map is also a collection, but it's a collection of key value pairs. It's not just so list and set are basically collection of values, whereas map is a collection of key value pair. Okay, key value pair is one key and one value. Okay, it can be like say a number and a corresponding value with that particular number. Okay, that's a key value pair. Got it? So that is the thing. Say rank 1, certain name, rank 2, another name, rank 3, another name. So now these ranks can be the key and the names can be the values basically. Correct? So that's collection of key value pairs. So here you're not just storing one set of values, you are basically storing the pairs. Okay, why do we need a map? We need a map so that we can quickly, easily retrieve the values using the keys. Okay, so if you have to retrieve rank 5, you can quickly retrieve using the key. Got it? Okay, so that is it. Now let's understand these data types a little more in details. So let's begin with the primitive data types in Apex. So starting with the primitive data types in Apex, the primitive data types, as I said, these are the generic ones. to put it in very simple words, these are the ones which you usually may have used in other programming languages also. Say some, C, C++, Java, they also use similar data types. So these are the generic ones which are, used almost everywhere. Okay. Some of these may not be, used in other programming languages, but most of them are. Okay. So the first one is Boolean. What is a Boolean? Boolean is a data type which can only store a true, false, or null. Okay. Primarily can be used for a checkbox kind of a thing, where you just want to, have, store a true or false. Okay. How do you define? Example, Boolean is selected equals true. Okay. So you see data type. This is the variable name, and this is the value that you have assigned to it. Okay. And Boolean can only, as I said, it can only have a value of true, false, or null. Okay, so think about a checkbox. Checkbox can be either checked or not checked, or a null value, right? So that is what your Boolean is. Okay, just give me one quick second, please. One moment. Okay, so any variable that you need to define, which can only hold a true, false, you define a Boolean for it. Um, Checkbox is an example that I told you. So usually, whenever you guys create a checkbox field, that the default data type for that is Boolean. Okay. Um, all right. Now, next one is decimal. Decimal is a number that includes a decimal point. So that's what it is. Example, decimal x is equal to 3.14. Then we have double. Double is a 64-bit number that includes a decimal point. Okay. This should be double actually. Double x equals something. Okay. So you see, we are basically defining the data type here, and then variable, and then we are putting the value there. So double is a 64-bit number that includes a decimal point. The difference between decimal and double is basically double can store a 128-bit value, and this can store a 64-bit number. So 64-bit number usually can store 15, 16 digit, and the decimal can store approximately 27, 28 digits. Okay. So that is there. ID is any valid Salesforce.com ID. So there's another data type which is called ID. Now this ID is only this data type is native to Salesforce. No other programming language uses it. So example, ID called ID equals to. So this can store only a valid Salesforce.com ID. That's what it can store. So if you need a variable to store the Salesforce.com ID, this can be used. Integer is a 32-bit number without any decimal points, which does not include a decimal point. So integer I equals 45. If you have a decimal point, or if you're expecting that there's a possibility of decimal points in your value, then you either use a decimal or double. Long, yeah, long is also like an integer, but it can store bigger values. 64-bit number that does not include a decimal point. Then we have string. String is a simple one. String basically refers to the variables which can store text values. Okay, like string city equals New York City. Okay. So this is the data type. So you cannot just go and put in your code city equals New York City. Salesforce will not understand that, or Apex will not understand that, rather, let me say. So you have to define the data type, then the variable, and then assign the value. Okay, this is how it works. Then there is another data type, primitive data type, which is date, value that indicates a particular day. And this is how you can put it. Date, my date equals date dot new instance, year, month, date. Okay. So this is how you assign a value to this variable. There is another one which is called date time. Now, in case of date time, what you can do is you define date time like this. So data type, variable name, and to put a value to that particular variable, this is how you do it. Year, month, date. So 1999 is year. 2 is the month, 11 is the date, and this is the time. Okay, hours, minutes, seconds. In case you want, you can put one more value here, which will be milliseconds. Okay. Time is another data type which is available, and putting value to a time variable is pretty similar to how we were putting it in date. So here you put it as time.new instance, and 1230, this is basically hour, minute, second, and milliseconds. Got it? So whatever time you want to put there, you can put that. Okay. So that is the thing. That's about the generic primitive data types. In addition to all these primitive data types, there is one more which is called an object. Now this object is basically not a particular data type, but it can be any data type that is supported in Apex. Okay, so in case you want to just define a generic one which can store anything, you define it as an object. So that option is there. So sometimes you may not be sure of uh, what data type you are going to put in the uh, variable. So initially you can define it as an object. An object can then be used to store any of the supported data types, primitive data types in Salesforce. Okay, how do we do it? Let's look at an example. So you define object obj equals 10, and then from this you can basically get the value to an integer I equals, and it retrieves the value from this particular data type. Got it? So that is the thing. You could have actually retrieved this value to a string also. Got it? So that is the thing. So this supports any possible data type in your Apex, or any supported primitive data types in Apex. Okay. So this is just an assert statement to check whether these two values are equal or not. So that's it. Okay, so that's about primitive data types. It should be simple. I don't think it's very difficult to understand the primitive data types. Now let's come to the S object, Salesforce object data type. Now Salesforce object data type is slightly different from the generic ones that we are talking about. What is Salesforce object data type? Salesforce object data type is basically referring to the Salesforce objects. Okay, let's say you have to store an account detail. You have to store an account detail in a variable. Now, for storing an account detail, so an account record can have a name, website, industry, phone number, there are multiple values to it, right? Now, how do you use, which data type do you use for storing that account record detail? So Salesforce has made things easier for you. They have, uh, given us S object data types, and S object data type can be used for storing a complete record detail. Okay. So S object basically refers to Salesforce object. The term S object refers to any object that can be stored in Force.com platform database. An S object variable represents a row of data and can only be declared in Apex. Now, this S object is something which you will only find in Apex. It is not in any other programming language, C, C++, Java. You do not see this in any other programming language. Okay. So now this refers to complete row of data in an object. Okay. So that is the thing. Let's look at an example. Account A equals new account. Okay. Now, when I say account A equals new account, it basically, this A is a variable which can store a complete account record. So here the data type is account. This is an S object data type. Okay. So if you look at it, account A, this is the data type. This is the variable. Okay. Now I say account A equals new account, and you can put in the values like I've put name equals IBM. You can put in more values to this particular record by giving commas here. So like I've said, name equals IBM, you could have put, industry equals something, and type equals something else, phone number, website. So that means you can put all the values to this particular variable. Okay. So if you look at this, this is a complete container of a record. Okay. Similarly, you can say contact C equals a new contact, and you can, assign the values. C dot first name equals G, C dot last name. This could have been something else, let's say Singh. So yeah, that way. So this is how you can actually, assign the values to your S object data types. Okay. Now, with this, what happens if, let's say, if I go with this particular record, what you can do now, since you are able to, define data types which can store complete records. Now, this will help you see in Salesforce or in Apex programming. I think most of the times, whatever logics we will be executing is going to be around the records, right? That, okay, fine, if this record has this, then do this and all that stuff. So that is going to be there. So S object will be very much used. Okay. So let's say you define this here, account A equals new account and name equals IBM. Now, next statement, or the next line, what I can do is I can go ahead and write that, okay, fine. If A dot industry equals technology, then do this. Something like that, right? or if a dot name is blank, then do this, right? So that is the thing. So S object data type, the variable is there. uh, Retrieving value from individual fields is variable name dot field name, like this one, c dot first name, c dot last name. Okay, so that is how it works. If there is a custom object, you have to just, I mean, you use the custom object data type same way, but data type name will be the um, API name of the custom object, which will have a double underscore C. Okay, so I do not know if you guys have noticed this so far, but if you have not noticed it, you can go back and check it today, that whenever there is a custom object that you create, it will always have a double underscore C at the end of it in the API name. Okay, so if you go and create a custom object called project, the API name of that particular object will become project double underscore C. Okay, so this is more of an indication that, okay, this is a custom object. All right, so that is the thing. So when you're using when you're defining a variable using a custom object, you will have to make sure that you're using the API name of it, or which will mean that there has to be a double underscore C at the end. Okay, so try to use the API name. I mean, that's an easier thing for you to understand. Double underscore C, the reason why I talk about this, because I want you to understand, looking at the code also, you should be able to understand that, okay, fine, this is a custom object. Okay, so API name of a custom object will always have a double underscore C at the end. Remember that. Okay, so if you just, let's say you have a project object, and if you just try to comment, put code project p equals something, it will throw an error. It will not recognize project. It will only recognize project double underscore C, because it recognizes only the API names. Okay, so that's about the S object data type. All right, now let's go to the list data type in Apex. Now list again. Now we are coming to the collection. So far we have just spoken about individual values, right? Individual values as in uh, maybe integer, boolean, string, whatever. We spoke about individual values, or an S object also we spoke about one single record, right? Collection basically refers to storing multiple records or multiple values in a variable. So there are different types of collections that we are going to work with in Apex. First one is a list. What is a list? A list is an ordered collection of primitives or S objects. It can be a collection of primitive. For example, there can be a collection of a string, or you can have a collection of records, whatever. So ordered collection of primitives or S objects that are distinguished by their indices. Now, ordered collection, why are we saying this as an ordered collection? So the ordered collection is basically referring to the index values that it maintains for each value that gets into the list. Okay, so each value in the list will have an index number, and it maintains the same index number throughout. Do we get it? Now, you will ask, why is this important? Okay, or how is it helping? So the purpose for that is, okay, in case there is a value which comes twice in the list, okay, in case there is a value which comes twice in the list, you can still you can still identify both the values with two different index numbers, because they have come in two different positions, and then there are two different index numbers. You can still retain both the values in the list, because they will have two different index numbers. Okay, so that is the purpose of an ordered collection. So in a list, it's an ordered collection. Each number will have its own index number. The index position of the first element in a list is always 0. Okay, the first element that gets into the list, index number will be 0, the second one will be 1, and so on it goes. Okay, so let's look at an example. So let's say you have created a list of string, and your list of string has got these 1 2 3 4 5 6 values. Okay, the first one will have index zeros, index 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, now if there is one more red here, somewhere here, that will have an index 6. Okay, and your list is actually going to consider this red and this red as two different values. One is index 0, one is index 6. Got it? Now with the help of index number and all, you have the option of actually retrieving values just using the index number and all. So that is there. Main purpose of this ordered collection index number, that okay fine, if there are multiple values, the same repeat of the same value, it permits that. Okay, because those are in two different index number. You will have business scenarios where you want certain values to be repeated in a list. Okay, that's where you use a list. Okay, let's look at some sample statements. So how do you define a list? Defining a list is simple. This is how you have to define it: list of integer. So when you're defining a list, earlier I was just defining integer, right? Now if it's a list, you put it as list of integer and put the variable name. Now this variable can contain multiple integers. It's not just containing one integer. Okay, now if it's a list, you can add values to the list. What will this do? If I say this variable dot add and put an integer value 47 here, so what will this do? It adds value 47 to the end of the list. Okay, so whatever values are there, that's fine. It will add additional values to the list. Integer I equals mylist dot get 0. What will this do? It will retrieve the value from index 0. Okay, so these are a few small methods that can be used. um, so this statement is adding value at the end of the list. What if you want to go and change a particular index number value? Let's say I want to change index 1 or index 2. What do I do that? What do I do there? You have the option of doing a set here, mylist.set 0 1. So what will it do? It adds the integer 1 to the list at index 0. Okay, so the first parameter here is the index number and second one is the actual value. Okay, so that is it. Mylist.clear removes all elements from the list. It will basically clear all the values from the list. So that is the concept of a list. Okay, ordered collection values also have an index number, which means duplicate values will be allowed because they will have two different index numbers. Okay, now since we have spoken about this, we will also I'm pretty sure some of you may be thinking that, okay, fine, if there is a business scenario which requires duplicate entries, there can be a business scenario which should not allow duplicate entries, right? Yes. So for that we have another data type which is called set. So what is the set data type in Apex? A set is an unordered collection of primitives or S objects that do not contain any duplicates. Here you only store values. There is no index number. So now because you're storing values and the values are actually the identifiers, there is no other identifier for the value. In a list, there was an index number, no? So the values were primarily being identified by the index numbers. Here there is no identifier. The values are being identified by themselves. Okay. So in this case, there will not be any duplicate. Okay. So now this is how a set would be: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Now if you try to insert another red here, it will not add that value. It will see the, okay, fine, this red is already there. Yeah, that's it. So the other red will not get added. So you will not have any duplicate value. So in case you want to uh, work with a collection where you do not want to allow duplicates, then you use set. Okay, some of the examples for sets are here. Defining set is like this, just like we were doing list. This is how we define set of integer s equals new set of integer and all. This will add value, add an element to the set, but only this will get added only if it is unique. It is not already available there. If you want to assert and check if your set contains a certain value, this can help you check assert that the set contains an element. It will go and check if the set contains a certain value, let's say 1. If you want to remove a certain value, so here you do not have to say that, okay, fine, remove from this index number and all. You just go and say that remove this value, whatever value you want to remove, that can be removed from the set. Okay. Now the next data type, which is map, the collection. So now map is a collection of key value pairs. Okay. So a collection of key value pairs means it's not just collection of one set of values, it is collection of set of key values. Okay, so key value pair is where there is a key and there's a value. Okay, now in this set of key value, the keys are unique and the values can be repeat also. Okay, so let's take this example. Let's say there is this list of currencies. Okay, now you have countries and then the currencies listed here. Okay, so now if I have to store this entire thing in a variable, I can put it as a map. Okay, what is the advantage? The advantage is that I can retrieve it quickly from the map. For example, based on some scenario, I have to retrieve what is the currency of Australia. I can quickly retrieve it from the map using this key. Left side is key, right side is value. Okay, using the key, I can quickly retrieve the value from this collection. Got that? Okay. Now, the point is that the keys are unique. You cannot have a repeat of the key. Values can be repeated. Okay. For example, there can be another country here which can have the same currency. So values can be repeated, but keys need to be unique. Okay. That's how you have to define it. Okay. Now let's see, how do we define a map? So because it's a map of key value, while you're defining a map, you'll have to define two data types here. The data type of the key first and data type of the values. Okay. And it can be integer string, it can be string, it can be integer, whatever. It can be any combination. It can be integer and an S object also, right? So that is there. Very common map that we will be using is a map of ID and S objects. Correct. So that you are able to retrieve a record using the ID and then you are able to work on that. That is something which is very common. Okay. But for our understanding, we are just taking this example, string and string. So this is a map of string and string. So this is how it is defined. And you just put the variable name. Okay. So now, here my key is a string, value is also string. That's the reason why I've defined this. How do I put values into it? Currencies.put key and then value. Insert a new key value pair in the map. So this is how we are going to insert the value in the map, the key value pair in the map. You can put some other value. I mean, this is just with a different variable name. Let's say there's another variable called m. So you can put, and if it's a map of integer and string, you can actually put it like this. Okay, system.assert. Now this is a method which can actually help you check if your map contains a certain key, contains key India. Okay, it will check, and this returns a true or false. So it will return true if this contains India as a key. Yeah, if you have to retrieve the value from a certain key, you can do it this way: string India currency equals currencies.get. Currencies.get will help you retrieve value from a particular key. Okay, now this will return what? This will return INR. India currency equals INR. This is what it is going to return. Okay, set. Okay, now this is basically for you to retrieve all the keys in a set. Okay, since the keys are unique, I told you I'm using set of string to retrieve all the keys. So in case you want to get all the keys in one variable, then you can do that. Set of string all countries equals currencies dot key set. So this dot key set will basically give you set of all the keys in the map.